Welcome to another Quantum Conversation. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Welcome to another episode in this Quantum Conversation Summit series, Energy Healing and Well-Being. And today we are talking about light language and how that relates to energy. It really taps you into the energy of your soul. My guest today is a light language channel and an intuitive guide. Robin Bailey is with us, and we are going to experience light language and learn more about how it works and how it affects our energy. Robin, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited. Thank you so much.
You have been channeling light language for a while now. Oh my gosh, like over 30 years. Can
Yeah.
you share with us how that happened, how it unfolded for you? Did you freak out? Did you
No.
ever question it? Tell us that story, please.
Okay. Yeah. So it actually happened in a church setting. And so when I was 20, and so in the charismatic faith, they have this service called baptism in the fire. And their belief is that then you receive a gift from the Holy Spirit. And so going in there, I knew it can be anything, and light language is one of them. And so going in, I knew that that's what was going to happen. It was really interesting. And at that time, I was in the Christian faith, and I began speaking light language in that church service. And then, so I just used it when I was in prayer and meditation to just connect more fully to myself, to my spirit. And it was really interesting because in the Christian, after that happened, it was like the Christian, like being involved in organized religion no longer made sense to me. And the how things were viewed or taught. And I'm like, well, that is an interpretation of the Bible, but it's not the interpretation. And the Bible isn't necessarily the book that tells us how to be, our sovereign self, how to be connected to God. And so, or the God within. And so in my later 20s or mid 20s, I really moved away from the Christian faith. And then in my 30s, I really kind of just went through this period where I don't think I believe in anything, and just kind of, went about living my life and doing my stuff, raising my kids. And then in my 40s, I began to explore more with like meditation. I actually went back to school and to get my master's in social work. And one of the courses offered in the program I was doing was a self-care course. And one of the instructors that you could take a course from did a lot of, it was all about meditation and about the frequency music and all that kind of stuff. And so it was at that point that it began to reactivate. And then, so I began to, meditate more, and it started to speak it more for myself. And then as soon as I got done with my master's program, I went in and did this training called EMDR. It's a type of therapy, psychotherapy, and which is very much body-based. It's very much moving the energy of the emotion out of your body, and that's how you heal from the traumatic experience. And part of that therapy is an eye movement. So the eye movements go back and forth, and you do it for about 20 to 30 seconds. And it was really interesting because when I was doing it in my head, I was speaking light language. And when I would do that, I noticed that my clients would move and shift through things a lot quicker. And I had people who would actually, had experiences, not with me, but experiences in the past when trying to work through the trauma where they dissociated, like completely just left their bodies. And excuse me, and when I started doing that, they didn't even go near that, and they're able to shift through really significant trauma. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So then I started to explore Reiki, and just doing some different just exploring more the whole gamut of spirituality. And then in 2019, in May of 2019, I got the message very clearly that I was supposed to quit the job that I was in, and I was supposed to get divorced and sell our house. And I knew it was supposed to all happen that fall. And I was working in the hospital system, and the hospital system truly is not a place for a mental health therapist. It's like trying to shove a square peg in a round hole. But especially because I was coming more into the holistic, really seeing the fullness of things. But anyway, in October, I quit my job. Um, my ex-husband and I put our house up for sale and decided that once we sold the house, we'd get a divorce. And that way we could just split our assets. And so anyway, we went, and January 1st, I no longer had a career. We sold our house, and I was divorced. And so this happened between January 1st and May 15th of that year. And then that's when things really started to shift and play for me, and where I really started to explore more. Okay, so now what do I want to do? And that's when the light language really started coming back online. It's when I started writing it. Before, I never wrote light language or light codes. And and I started to use it more and more. I started to drum more. I got more information about uh who I am. That started to make more sense about why my life was the way it was, and why I experienced things the way that I did throughout my life. But one of the thing that really brought forth why I was attuned to speaking light language was I was doing a drumming for myself, and I was journeying, and I saw myself on this beach, and I was looking into the ocean, and I'm like, something falling into the ocean. And I'm like, oh, Atlantis is going into the ocean. It wasn't like, oh no, Atlantis is falling. It's like, oh, okay, there she goes, and I could see around the earth, there's all these different lights. And I'm like, oh, there are other beings like me. And I was holding these tablets with written codes on them. And I saw myself putting them into like just dissolving them into my body. It's like I had to keep them. And I'm like, oh, that's what the other people are doing too. It's that we were all given codes at that time to hold until it was time for us to come back and assist the earth, humanity, in reactivating those dormant DNA codes within. And it was made very clear to me that, like, there's a lot, like, where we talk about Atlantis fell. And it wasn't that Atlantis fell, or that Lumeria was destroyed or anything like that. I mean, that's what it probably looked like, but they were leaving this time space reality is what was happening. And so people were, or not people, but beings, they called other beings from other galactic and star systems to come down and hold the codes until it was time for the codes to come back online. And so I answered that call for whatever the Galactic Council that I was part of. That's, it's like, okay, that's what I'm going to go and do. And when I decided to do that, I made the commitment to stay on the Earth plane until it was time for me to incarnate as a human being. And so I've been on the Earth plane for a really long time, but this is my first time as a human being on here. And so, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Why throughout my life, I'd say these humans don't make sense. Whenever things were confusing, I'd be like, oh, these humans just don't make any sense. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's why I say that, just different things like that. But, so just made it very clear to me that the way that I transmit the codes that I get to assist in this time frame of reactivating is through speaking and writing light language. And other, there's many others that are bringing it forth in various different ways. And this is how I am too. So the people who are drawn to work with me, or drawn to like listen to me, things like that, are those that are coming to be called back to the remembrance of those codes that they've always held but are dormant. And so a lot of times we think that people, teach us things, like we have a guru or, that type of thing, and they're going to teach us things. And nobody can teach us anything. It's that we're drawn to those people who are going to help us remember what we forgot. And so that's the people who come to me, are those who are like, oh, Robin can help me remember what I forgot. And so, and then just like I'm drawn to certain people who help me to remember things that I've forgotten. And so that's kind of how it all developed.
What a fascinating story. And I love how it's just so grounded. It's a
Hmm.
very grounded experience. Here you were in church, so that could have been otherwise known as speaking in tongues.
Correct. Yes.
Right. And so, therefore, that was a divine unfolding. It wasn't anything to be like, wow, what is coming out of my mouth, and nothing to
Right.
freak out about. And I also love how, here you are working in mental health in the medical arena, in that field of doctors and nurses. And I just want to say that, wow, I do see the day someday where this will be mainstream in the medical field.
Hmm.
You were a part of it. You were just way ahead of your time, like so many nurses are with
Hmm.
Reiki and hands-on healing and that sort of thing. So I just want to share, when I've heard stories about nurses speaking light language to people who are ill and in the hospital, and the remarkable stories of their feeling better and
Hmm.
sensing better. So that right there is testimony to the power of light language.
Yeah.
But I particularly love your take on this. As you said, you remembered standing on that beach and bringing those light codes in. And that's really what this is all about. So you've helped explain light language even more. So there's light codes that we all have. And this is really fascinating. You're going to do a little light code activation for us. But that's why when we hear light language, our heart literally opens and melts.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what's going on there on a soul level. It's like we have to bypass our logic because we can feel it. How do you explain that? I mean, wow, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a because it's a frequency, it's a high vibrational frequency. And the thing that I was show a couple different things, but the first thing I'll explain is the thing that I was shown was that on the big sacred grid system, or the sacred geometry of the universe, we all have that origin point. We all have that starting point. And with that, we all have our own language, however it comes through, we're able to express it. And so when I'm speaking light language, like when I'm working with a client and I'm speaking light language, is what it is that I'm channeling the different aspects of their self, giving them the information. And that's why it so easily bypasses the mind and goes straight into the heart. And where people have that experience is like, I have no idea what you said, but I know exactly what you said. And because it's familiar to them, and without them realizing it. And so there isn't a direct interpretation of light language. Like when somebody speaks light language, there's never a direct interpretation, because it's not like I'm translating from Spanish to English or something like that. There is What happens is you get downloaded information. So the crystalline DNA gets activated. So we have our two-stranded carbon-based DNA, but even within that, the scientists called it junk DNA in the 80s, but really it's just inactive. It's just those DNA codes that were dormant. And now they're even finding that there actually truly is crystalline DNA within our system. And, we don't know exactly how many strands, but I think they've seen like some epigenetics scientists say that they've seen like 12 to 15 strands or something like that. But there's way more than, I mean, because we're way more than that. So but that's what it's activating those codes. And so we know that information. So there isn't a direct translation of it. It's the downloads that we get. So when I work with people, I let them know if I get some information, I'll share it with them. However, what I am to be doing is to assisting people in really coming into experiencing it themselves, like viscerally, sensation wise. Our body gives us all the information so that they can interpret it for themselves. Because even when I do this light language transmission for this during this time, people are going to hear it differently because even, for me, I'm hearing it one way, but then somebody else says, oh, it sounded like this, or it sounded like this, and it was, oh, I'm like, oh, okay, that's not what it sounded like to me, but it's because it goes in, it's a frequency that goes in, and we understand it how we understand it, each individually. So it's like when I do this, it's like for the collective, but you get it individually. You experience an individual activation as well. So that's really fascinating to me because I just wanted to, the second point I was going to make about that I've shown is that light language is like the precursor to telepathy. So I like if you spoke light language to me, like we were speaking light language back and forth to each other. I've done this with people that we sitting there talking and we're speaking. It sounds different. Each of us, the way we're speaking sounds different, but we're just kind of like laughing. And it's like we understand inside, I'm like, I understand completely what that person said and vice versa. And it's like we're having a conversation. And so, but I was just showing that's because is what light language does is in order to attune to it for yourself, it's like you're tuning in to a specific frequency to a channel. And that's what we're doing with telepathy is that it's like if I wanted to talk to you, I would tune into your frequency channel so that I could speak to you telepathically.
Wow, that makes perfect sense. And that is really fascinating. We have just gotten through a Light Language Summit series where we did see um, there were two hosts and they had a speaker who was speaking light language. And that's so fascinating to see them all bring through the frequencies. So when you say that it's a precursor to telepathy, that is very, very cool. That is so cool. I absolutely love that. Okay. Well, self-interpretation, that is another key point that I like to highlight because we know what we know within us. The spiritual teachers say this all the time. You know what you know within
Mm,
us. But yet our mind has a hard time even believing that.
mhm,
So light language is like a bridge to that wisdom that we hold within.
mhm.
How do how did you get to the trust level? I know that you have a course and you work with people. How do people themselves get to that level of trust that what they're getting they're not questioning it, they're not doubting it? Is that an issue?
Hmm.
Or
Yeah,
do,
that's what I
yeah.
talk about a lot is that's the biggest issue. The only thing blocking us is our self-doubt, is the self-doubt that, oh, that can't be real. And so it's what I do is in the course is I have people it starts to come through. It's like a 5 module thing. And so, but by the third module, generally something's starting to come through for them, like whether it's like doing the mudra movements or whatever. And so we do where we practice, and I have them actually video themselves and or record, depending upon if they're moving or if they're speaking, the either video record or voice record themselves, and then later listen to it and to see how it affects them viscerally, how they can experience it within their body. And then we do a couple times a month, we'll meet and we all practice together. So you get the opportunity to share it with the people in the group so that they can give you the feedback. It's like, wow, no, I felt that. I experience, and so then it starts to, and it's like, oh yeah, or they will be speaking and then be listening to somebody on YouTube or something who speak and they're like, oh, that sounds like me. That sounds like a language I was speaking. And so that's really how you start to bypass it, is that you you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, I guess, and put yourself out there. And then the interpreting part comes, that seems to come pretty naturally as you start to explore more with your own light language, because it because there's this knowing. It's just like, that it comes to the point where it's like, I can't, and then all of a sudden something comes into your awareness that somebody else is talking about the exact same thing, the information that you just received, and you're like, oh, okay, I am on the right track. So
And those little steps of validation are the
mhm. Yeah,
ones for people.
that is really what we need. But it's what's interesting though. You asked, like, how did I never thought it was weird.
Okay,
I always thought I thought it was weird that people thought it was weird. And
because
so,
it was so comfortable to you. It
yeah,
felt so
natural. Yeah, it's like, well, of course that's how I speak. And so I don't have memories as a child speaking, but I'm like, I wonder if that's what I did. I don't know.
and so this goes back to your history as a human on the planet. And so it's almost bodhisattva-like, uh,
Hmm.
where you were a light being and you remembered being a being of light and bringing those codes into your heart. So you did that as a light being,
Right. Hmm.
kept hanging around the earth until this incarnation. Wow. How did you remember that part? Did you go into a regression, hypnosis, or did it just come to your awareness through the light language that this is your first time in a human body?
So I was doing a meditation with in a group, and it's what it was just meeting a member of our star family in the meditation, and then just asking them questions. And so I was there, and so the question I had was, how many lifetimes have I been here? And the reason I asked that question was because people have done like past life regressions on me, and they're like, oh, you had this past life and this past life, and I'm like, no, I didn't. That's not mine. And then I was reading something, and one of the things that the person was talking about was that sometimes when you're doing the past life regression, the thing that the practitioner is picking up on isn't necessarily your past life, but you had connection with the person with that past life, and for whatever reason that kind of just stayed with you. And so it wasn't necessarily your past life. And so anyway, so that's why I asked the question. I'm like, how many times? Because I always thought, I'm like, this is my first time. And like, well, maybe I'm wrong. So I'm going to ask. And so I asked, and I said, how many times have I been here? And it was like a masculine energy being. And he kept going like this. And I said, one time other than this time, or just one time? And he kept going like this. I'm like, okay, once. I've been here once. Okay, whatever. And so it's like, but that wasn't the information. He's like, that's not even important, or the other thing, because the other thing I asked is where am I from? Because I don't feel connected to like any of the different star systems in this galaxy. And so he just kept pointing. And he's like, and the information I got was, where you're from is the system you're from is frequency. And so there aren't words, I, we don't name things. And so like we do in some of the lower dimensional realms, we name things. And and I'm like, oh, I now I understand why were people who talked a lot and really said nothing always really, really bothered me. And it's because we don't have words, or why words bother me, or how describing things, people describe things, and or that dualistic mindset, why that stuff bothered me so much, because words just weren't something that was used wherever my origin point is from. And so, but yeah, so that was,
So fascinating. And I
yeah.
can tell by the sound of your voice, you have a lovely voice.
Oh, thank you.
Here I am going to label you, but I really feel that you're a Blu-ray, which is they're called the lost light workers because they don't really say that they're from anywhere,
Yeah.
but they're here for divine will. So that resonates with me, and I'm not going to label you, but I just get a sense that you are here as a Blu-ray using your voice for shifting on the planet. And
Yeah.
so that's what's activating these light codes. It's really very, very cool. Okay, so I want to share something about this as well. Oh no, you wanted to
I
say,
just wanted to comment about the Blu-ray. And so I don't really know anything about Blu-rays, but my memories of being here on Earth, like when I close my eyes and just see myself, I always see myself as blue. And I mean, I remember ever since I was little, I've always seen myself as blue. I'm
wow,
like, why do I always see myself as blue? But so that makes a lot of sense
actually.
to me when you said that.
Wow. Okay, so that's validation for me.
Yeah.
I work with the Blu-ray Collective,
Oh,
and it's taken me a long time to really own into this, and so it's helping me. And I have a SOFA council who they are the Blu-ray Collective, and we are the Blu-ray Collective. But I'm not going to go too much into that. But you're offering me great validation. So I wanted to share another thing about, I'm going to share a little bit about my own
mhm,
journey because I've been witnessing people spontaneously speaking light
mhm,
language.
mhm.
And so like they say, you know what, I just woke up and I woke up from a dream and I'm just talking this way. And so some of us are like, well, we want to talk that way too, or we want to do it. But this is the point. It happens differently for each of us. And
Mhm,
so let's go into toning. For me, toning is something, and this goes back to Lemuria for me.
mhm.
Toning is my go-to. When I see an animal that's struggling, a bird that hits a window, or something, or when people are having a tough time, I just start toning.
Yeah.
I just do a tone, and that it doesn't sound good to me, but we're not here to sound good. But there's something about the energetics of the toning. So
Mhm,
that's what I know and I understand. But
mhm.
then also when I was in a meditation with the Arcturians, I just did a bunch of clicking sounds and I couldn't believe what is that clicking sounds. Oh, and now I'm reminded yesterday there was a praying mantis on my screen for like the whole
Mm,
day and
yeah.
in night. So that's really interesting. But the clicking sounds, I just like walked around for about the better part of an hour making these clicking sounds. Could that be light language as well?
Yeah, that's a lot of people say that that's like Arcturian,
Aye.
the clicking. I think the clicking. There are so this is really interesting. So for me, I and it's kind of, people probably think it's really odd, but I don't know a lot about like the Octurians, the Pleiadians, and all those different things. But what is the star system, where they tend to look more insect-like? Is that the Octurians?
I do not know, but I know the mantids. Yeah, that's a good question. I know our audience may have some insight on that.
Yeah.
Arcturians, there's a bunch of different scenarios, but they're Blu-rays as well.
Yeah.
Jesus was Arcturian, we hear.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and so then I realized, oh my gosh, the Arcturians are Blu-rays. So they could be blue. Many people
Hmm.
see them as blue.
Yeah.
Interesting though.
But back to the clicking, yes, that is light language. I've heard other people do it, and I've done it a couple times where there's that clicking sound that comes through. But yes, that is light language, because light language comes from all different star systems, from different galactic councils, different lost languages of the earth. It comes from dragons, fairies, elves.
Hmm.
The toning especially to me, has a lot to do like more with the water beings,
Oh,
like
wow.
dolphins and mermaids and things like that. When I hear that, and I don't tone a lot, but every once in a while I do. And I have several friends that tone a lot. And when I hear that, that's what it reminds me most of is water beings. And
Wow.
so, not necessarily, so the ones that are here on the earth, but there's also a lot of water planets, and so that type of
Hmm.
language. So that's what that reminds me of is
That is so cool. All right. And that resonates 111% deeply
yeah.
with me. Wow, that's so cool. Okay. Wow. See, you're helping me remember, and we're just
Yeah.
having a conversation.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about your course because I'm going to say everyone wants to develop their light language.
Hmm.
You are simply a facilitator to develop that light language, a support system to say it's okay, and to say, if it's clicking or toning or
Hmm.
draws and things,
Hmm.
or even writing as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
We might just think it's doodling. Oh, and I've done that too. I've actually been able to write a little bit. So
Hmm.
I guess my thing is I should take your course. My thing is just not my mind will say, "Oh, you're just writing gibberish." But you
Yeah.
look at it and there's definitely energetics to it.
Hmm. Yeah. Especially, I always tell people set it aside for like a day and then come back and look at it and you see it and then you really see it. It like almost jumps out at the page for you. And then you'll start to notice it as you continue to write and explore light language in that form, is that codes will come through. So for example, when I was working with people and I would do some like Reiki on them, there would be certain codes over certain organs that would come up a lot. And I knew what it was releasing. And so sometimes then you get information that way. It's like, oh, okay, so that's I understand what that code is for. So
Very interesting.
yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. All right. Well, you are giving me beautiful validation, confirmation, confidence in my toning. And I just want to share another quick episode. Again, I've revived birds, birds who
Mm,
have been knocked out. They appear to be gone, like
yeah.
off the planet, and they pop back to life. And actually, this is a sad, well, it doesn't have to be sad, but we had baby turkeys, and one by one, they all got the flu. And
Mm.
anyway, the last turkey I called him Spirulina, because when he was born, he had a spiral in the feathers on his head,
Oh.
and he was my favorite. And so he got sick. He was the last one out of nine, and he got sick. And I went out there, and he was on the ground, and we thought he was already gone. So what did I do? I started toning from my heart, and there was
Hmm.
other people around, and I could have been embarrassed, but I really didn't give a rat's ass. I've said to myself,
Yeah.
I don't care. Earlier, I looked around, who's listening? Other times
Hmm.
I grabbed them, but this time I just toned. And so for 2 minutes, I toned. And then the last 40 seconds, this bird started moving, and I thought he was coming back alive. I was like, ah, but
Yeah.
that was his soul leaving his body.
Oh,
And
so you
so, but
got to,
that was still precious to me.
yeah, because you got to assist in his process.
Oh,
That's beautiful. That just gives me chills that you,
and
oh, I love it. Yeah.
feathers. It's a beautiful turkey.
Hmm.
So I kept these feathers. I know that might be kind of weird to people, but anyway, that's my stories with the turkey and toning. And so Thank you for helping me remember. And I can say right now, everyone watching and listening, they can look back in their life on how they've toned, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe now we're talking aloha, as you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
words, people talking too much. If we've ever done a Vipsana meditation or a retreat where you don't speak for 10 days,
Yeah.
and you come out of that and then speak again, it's very jarring
Yeah.
when you see we say a lot of pointless words.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so wow, I just wanted to say it's so beautiful that here we are learning this. And so those who are watching this are looking back in their lives and saying, wow, I can remember doing this, or humming, even just singing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Humming and singing and yeah. And the other thing, how many people sit in meditation and they're sitting and then all of a sudden they're just moving. That's light language. They're sending out codes, you know. How many do that? A lot of people do that and they don't realize it.
Here's another story. I just remember, I don't know, 15 years ago, driving down the highway,
Yeah.
and I would just see all the cars and I would just put my hand out and just
Ooh.
beam love. That
Mm-hmm.
too is light language.
Mm-hmm.
See, we're not aware of it, but now we're putting the label on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when I do that, I can feel my hands totally light up. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, these
Yeah.
are the light codes within us.
Yes, yes, that are
It's
activating and they activate in many different ways. And yeah, that's where our language is so limited because you hear the word light language and you think, ooh, something magical, and it's like, but you're doing it every day. We forget it's like, but you already are. We're already are light. So of course you're going to be expressing light language in some way, so
And this is a valuable lesson because every footstep on
yes.
the earth is, wow, I'm going to cry, is our light language with the earth. So if we just tune into that a little bit, wow, do we see how powerful we are? We're
Yeah,
powerful. Okay. Whoo, this is great because no one is no one is not doing light language. And we call
right.
it language, like you're gonna
Right.
speak it or
Yeah.
something, but it's actually a radiance. It's
hmm Yep.
wow.
It's a frequency. It's pure frequency. And um, like I called my website and like my company is with the earth because that's what we're to be doing is that working with the earth. A lot of times, we do like different ceremonies or like the different portal openings or, new moon and, all those different kinds of things. And so it's like we're in this kind of receiving mode where it's like I'm going to have the moon assist me, which we need. I'm not saying you don't do that, but we're or the portals assist you, but we're actually coming into now where we're to be sending codes into that. So like when you're doing moon, like working with the moon, you're sending codes into her frequency so that she can do her work on this earth too. And we get to and then we get to receive from that. So there's that symbiotic relationship. And the same with the earth is that one of the things that has been harming the earth so much is that we hold on to like our anger and fear and hatred and that intense grief, not letting go of grief. And so we're holding on to what we call negative emotions. And the earth needs our shit. Literally it needs our compost. It also energetically needs that stuff that doesn't serve us. Because when we drop it, we're dropping our frequency suits. We're dropping those frequency suits into the earth. That frequency goes into her. She transmutes it and uses it so that she can ascend. And so the way that we say we blame things like the, carbon emissions and, all different kinds of things. And it's not so much that that's killing the earth. It's us holding on to all of our negative or lower density emotions. If everybody on earth dropped those lower density emotions, the earth would just pop right out of where we're at. And we would pop right out with her, because our light body isn't meant to hold that. Like hers is, because she, for whatever reason, that's what she does, is transmutes that.
I'm thinking about the mangroves, which that's the trees that live in the water, the brackish water near the oceans, and they're the livers of the ocean. They actually,
Mm,
and that's what Gaia is for
hmm.
us. And so you've
Yeah.
helped explain that. Wow. And the symbiotic relationship. And so I know that some would say, oh, I don't want to give my negative energy to the
Hmm.
earth. When you say give it to the earth, oh, I don't want to hurt the earth, but that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah. And that's
Wow.
exactly how I was. And I'm like, I don't want to hold on to this. This doesn't make me feel good. Why would I give it to the earth? That would be so mean to do that. And she was like, no, please, please drop it. I can use it. I know what to do with it. She knows what to do with it.
Okay.
We don't know what to do. She knows exactly what to do with it. Because just like the compost, you put compost in and then you get these beautiful flowers, you get this beautiful vegetation and fruits and vegetables. And so when you drop all your stuff, then you get this filled with bliss and love and joy and peace. She's like, here you go, thank you, here you go. So,
Like the lotus flower in
hmm, in
water.
mud. Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? This is really healing, just the thought of that as gosh. So I know we're going to do a light language activation. That's really cool. But what would you say that we could do how would we drop all of our frustration and fear? Many of us are like, what do you do? There's wars on
Hmm.
this planet. This is 2024. We shouldn't be having any war. What's going on?
Hmm.
So is there can you give us a quick little instruction on how we can just drop it, how we give it to Gaia?
Yeah. So the way that you have to drop your stuff before things start to shift around you. And so the way that you drop it is actually okay. So the thing that helped me to do this was there's that story of the Buddha. He goes and sits under this tree, and Mara comes over, and Mara is representative of like Satan or the devil, comes over to like tempt him or make him, stumble on his words or send in anger and hatred or, trying to get Buddha to not be Buddha. And so Buddha's sitting there knowing that he's going to come. And this kind of goes right along with the story of Jesus going into the desert, too. It's the same story. And but anyway, so he comes in, Mara comes up, and Buddha says, come, sit and have tea with me. Let's get to know each other. That's how you drop it, is that when the sensation, so the first thing we experience in our body is sensation before we can name the emotion, before we can name the thought pattern or the belief system that it's coming from. Our body sends sensation, but we tend to override that sensation. We think sensation comes later, but when we truly listen to our body and allow the sensation to be there and invite it into our heart space and say, welcome, you're welcome here. The moment you do that, it like begins transmute, it begins dropping. And so like in meditation, like a meditation you can do is maybe maybe a emotion that's coming up a lot for you is uh jealousy. And so in meditation, you can be a little bit in more of a calm state and you can invite the jealousy to come in and explore how that sensation arises in your body, the visceral experience of it, and just be with it and let it move however it wants to move. Don't try to control it or get rid of it, just let it move. And it actually shifts into like melts, almost like it melts into the earth.
Wow, thank you for that. That's a really powerful tip, and we're all going to be employing that for sure. Wow, thank you. Light workers, let the earth have your feelings, negative
Hmm.
feelings, and let's,
Please, she's saying, please, please.
that is a symbiotic relationship
It
that's
is.
so beautiful.
Right.
Wow. See how Gaia supports us?
I know, I know.
Wow.
And we
All
support her. We forget how we support her too, you
right. Yeah.
know.
Yes, symbiotic, two-way
Hmm.
street.
Hmm.
Cool. Okay. Well, we're excited to hear some light language from you. You're going to channel this. Tell us about what you're going to do here.
Okay. So I'm going to just first do a brief meditation to ground you in to the crystalline core of the earth and to the Christos grid of the universe through our sacred heart space, because in order to truly receive, we need to remember that we're grounded in. We're actually always grounded in, we're always plugged into those energy sources. It's that we often forget. And so I'm just going to guide you through a meditation so you can come in creating your sacred space. And then when I began speaking light language, I just invite you to allow it to be whatever experience it needs to be. And so sometimes people experience lights or sounds, or they actually or hear information, or see visuals, or experience different emotions. Some people cry, some people experience peace. Some people notice that, like maybe anger arises and then it shifts, and just let everything flow and move the way it wants to move, because it's just working on whatever it is that needs to be worked on, and activating whatever it needs to be activated within you. I suggest also that afterwards, if you have time, to go and journal a little bit about your experience. And then if you have the opportunity to re-listen to this, you can go back later and re-listen as many times, because you're going to get different information. It's different things come through. And so that's really the essence of it, is it's really coming in with this curious mind and just allowing it to be your own process. And with the one comment that or one thing that you had said was, people being spontaneously activated into light language. When I do this, people do sometimes get spontaneously activated. So if I'm speaking, you may find that you begin speaking or toning, or that your hands start moving, or that you see light codes. And if you see different codes or sometimes you think, oh, those are just lines and dots because my eyes are closed. Pay attention to that, and see what that is, and maybe draw it, and then come back later and look at it. You might be surprised what actually came through for you. Okay, let me get a little bit of water first. So I just invite you to uh, sit or lie down, whatever's most comfortable for you. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It is helpful to be in a space where you won't be disturbed. Just giving yourself that opportunity to go within and meet your highest self. So just first begin by noticing your breath, how your breath breathes your body. It knows exactly what to do. It knows exactly when to inhale, exactly when to exhale. And then just notice, by the simple act of noticing your breath, what happens in your body. And if you notice any spots in your body that might feel tense or denser, you can breathe into that and just notice what happens when you breathe into that. Notice the activation in your beautiful spine that houses those 7 main chakra systems. Breathe into your spine and notice how your chakras activate, forming this beautiful rainbow prism up your spine. And whether you see visually or sense or just know, just experience it. And as you're experiencing it, it begins to just move all the way down through your physical form into the beautiful earth, going down through your beautiful earth star chakra into the earth's crust, water, the molten lava, all the way down to that crystalline grid, core of the earth, Gaia's sacred geometry, a beautiful blue, silvery white. You experience this sensation of like plugging in, the frequencies connecting in. You may experience a sensation like, ah, I remember, I remember, I remember. And you notice how your frequency and Gaia's frequency just dance and play together as it moves up through your system and down into Gaia. And it moves all the way up, continues to move up and down this beautiful flow, up through your crown of your head, through your soul star chakra, up to that beautiful Christos grid system of the earth or of the universe. The earth is right there with it. And you plug in there. And the earth's energy, your energy, the Christos energy, the universe dance and play, moving together as one. This beautiful dance, this beautiful symphony. And this energy moves, this frequency moves into your sacred heart space. This is your grid system, who you are. That sacred geometry of you on this beautiful sacred geometry of all that is. And you notice that like laser beams or lights just shoot out all around you, above and below, creating that sacred orb of your geometry around you, your still point space, your quantum now space. And it's in this space where you can freely receive this channeled activation. Puaya shayumai kushaya do shuaya ushuaya maya koshayuka ishu mushya Dushta ko aya mai kosta. Ishai na moa koshai. Ishtuku mai ka kosta yashi. Ushono ma ia kosta ia bako ashiano. Ushua ushai iamao. Do kusta bakina usta. Doko o mai nakashakoa. Doko oku ustakeba akara o naboko iara kedashikoma iki. Ira ko ora ko o ma akara estako o ba ikara shikara o mahiki. Dono ukoa ba ikara shiko ni mako a ira kora ko staka i pokora ko ustaki a nama ino ko o ba ki ara ko oa takara ko ustaki ba iko boko ustaka aya nama okora shiko bokoa ikara shinama o ma kara shiko oa shiki ira boko ustaka aya na ia shikoa Shakara ba uku una ba ia kashika o mai akara I mu usta ha shakoa. Do la shabaki dusta ama aka ikara shakoa ba kishina ma uku o wa shaka. Doko o ma ista ko da ba ista. Dashtoko amako ushtaki ishtaka baaya nako o bakishikira isha namako ashiku o bashiki inamako akidashuko makia ishtoko abaiya nashtoko baya kasharakuma iki dona makira shakua Ukarabakashonama I do nama iko ukarashakabaiya nama oko dayakashai po o shinama iya kaha ora boko bakia shinimi ino ma ika do ba istu ko oa dakarabakoa Ishtama o miyako wa shiki. Doko makara I. Doko abaka a. Ishtokoma iki adako. Ishtahia maya. Doma ishtokoa. Shakara oa. Umakishina a. Oba ushtaka. Shukudukoa. You can allow yourself to rest in this space for as long as that you need to. And when you're ready to move back into the space that you're in, allow yourself to draw in those codes, allow them to settle into your bones and tissues, into your bloodstream, your central nervous system. On this earth, we're gifted with this beautiful form of the body, and it holds all of these codes for us. Allow your full system to integrate, to receive, experiencing how your physical form is the same as your energy form. How your physical form and energy form are the same as your highest self. You are one. You are whole. Boshkoana I kushtahara booka shiku. Thank you. Mm.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you. That was like an ancient grandmother speaking to me.
Beautiful.
Wow. Oh, and feeling those codes is so beautiful. I
Yeah.
truly, everyone is feeling that. Oh, you've activated us. There's been incredible work here in that transmission.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that by you receiving you've activated me, you
Wow.
know. It's the same symbiote. Everything's symbiotic. So,
Okay. Well, you have illustrated the power of light language, the energetics of light language, and how we all have it, and how we all are radiating something,
hmm.
whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
So let that negative stuff go and bring your light work on for the masses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Powerful times we're in. I
Yes, it
get
is.
this now. Wow. Okay. Well, I love this. I really do. I know that I'm not the only one feeling elated and excited. And we are really looking forward to going deeper with you on this.
Hmm.
We're going to talk about your course that you have. This is a beautiful way that people can be supported by you. And as you said, they support you in
Yeah.
that symbiotic relationship. But this is beautiful. It's quite comprehensive. Tell us about this course.
So it's a 5 module self-paced course. And so I just broke it down into, just learning about what light language is. And so we go into that and then really connecting in with your guidance team. And we call them our spirit guides, but really they're us speaking to us. And so it's connecting with them even on a deeper level so that we can start to communicate and hear the frequency that they want to bring forth within you. And then learning ways on how to listen to light language, interpreting it. And it's generally around this time when people start to play with the interpreting or listening to other people's light language or looking at the light codes that it starts to activate for them as well. And so you just get to play with, there's this bunch of different techniques and tools and things you get to do to learn to just interact with light language. And then we go into where you can be, there's a meditation so that you can get into your sacred space. um, I have a light language channel that you can listen to that just helps you, and then you can let whatever comes forth. And so you can listen to it as often as you want. And you don't even have to, it's not like you have to listen to that in order to be attuned, of course, because we talked about earlier how it can just happen spontaneously. But it's a way to help you get into, like, override your brain so that you can do this if you're having a hard time with thoughts getting in the way. And then just more on how to self-interpretation. And then twice a month we meet over Zoom for an hour-long call where we get to ask any questions and then practice with each other. The group is getting bigger and bigger, and so we'll probably be going, getting out into little groups and practicing together, things like that. You can connect with other people, practice through Zoom on your own, so it's really just to create community and to do our work, and the more that gather together and do this, the more power, the stronger that frequency gets emitted out. So um yeah, that's the course.
Thank you so much for that.
Mm.
Again, I want to direct all those watching and listening to scroll down on the webpage where you're watching this. And also in the description box of wherever you're watching or listening to this, you'll find a link to this beautiful course. and sign up for it. If you need assistance with this, there is a 2 payment plan that is a wonderful opportunity for you to join if that makes it easier for you and learn how to radiate your frequency in this way and do some serious light work. Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much, Robin.
Yes,
This is
thank you.
really wonderful. Yes, yeah,
This was,
cool.
yeah, it was amazing. It was such a blessing to be able to be on here and get to share this. It's a lot of times I'm like, oh, this is my life. Look at that, what I get to do. So,
Yay. And so this is beautiful for healers, those who are
mhm,
in healing arts. They can add this to their repertoire
mhm,
and their services. And for those who just want to share it with their family, or it can come in any form. It's just
yeah,
beautiful ways to expand our consciousness,
mhm,
bring our unlimited potential even more online.
right.
Fabulous. Okay. So, wow, Robin Bailey, this is beautiful today. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
As we say goodbye, I want to give you a moment for final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Oh, so one thing to think about is when you go outside. Here's a little thing that fun thing that you can do is we all go outside at some point, is to say something into the air because it's going to carry those codes. So for, we're doing a lot of work with the water, like a lot of people are doing a lot of water work right now. And also we need to be working with the wind, the air, the breeze. And so even if you just go outside and kind of just go like this or something with intention, so start sending codes out through the wind. It'd be something fun to do.
I have some chills on that one too. Okay. Well, thank you for amplifying our light workers' skills and capabilities
Mhm.
and helping us to remember this beautiful aspect of ourselves. I think it's a great homecoming today for many of us, if not all of us. So please join Robin Bailey in her course if you'd like to learn more and bring your own abilities more further and deeply online. Okay, Robin, what a beautiful show today. What a beautiful frequency we've shifted. And that is our energy connected more deeply to source that we remember. We didn't forget about it. We
No.
feel it. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.